Hey everybody, it is Kathy with Backyard Columbus, and today's episode is Trump versus Harris. Who is better for your backyard? I'm going to try to say this without laughing. Neither one. It really has nothing to do with your backyard. So, I just know some people, and I'm sure you do as well, where I swear you could be talking about socks, and somehow they will bring politics into it. So your backyard, it doesn't matter who's president. It doesn't matter who is in Congress. You can do great things in your backyard no matter what is going on around you. And one of the reasons why I did this is I actually listened to a podcast, Money Talks News. It's a wonderful financial publication that's made for like the common guy. You know what I mean? And they had a Trump versus Harris, who's better for your wallet? And they kind of landed on in the middle as well. But it made me think that this fall might be very tough. And so I'm going to say this right out of the gate. This is not a political podcast. I am not trying to persuade anybody either way. But at the end of the day, no matter what goes on, it might be stressful. And I think you should vote. I think you should let your voice be heard. But after that, especially in a presidential election, once you have cast your vote, you're done. Your part is done. Okay. And then you need to unwind, de-stress yourself, and just get back to the things where you can make a difference. And you can do a lot of good in your own backyard. You can find a lot of fulfillment in your own backyard, a lot of enjoyment, make a happy space in your own backyard. And so I'm going to cast my vote, and then I am going to go play in my backyard because that's what makes me happy. And those are things that I can control. So things like maybe you want to know where your food comes from. So you start a small garden. Look, it's in Ohio. It's not going to feed you for the year. My garden, we have, I don't even know, probably off the top of my head, 8 16 square foot garden beds, and it was a train wreck this year. So I don't even think we grew a week's worth of food. But you know what? I love growing things, so that decreased my stress and that made me happy. I raise monarch butterflies, so a female monarch butterfly will come through our yard. She lays her eggs on milkweed, which is the host plant for the monarch butterfly. Compulsively, I go gather those eggs and I put them into protective custody, which just means a butterfly cabinet on my back porch. And I watch the whole process unfold of this egg hatching, turning into a caterpillar. The caterpillar grows, feasts on the milkweed, makes its chrysalis, and then it becomes a butterfly, and the whole thing is wonderful. It just warms your heart to be all melodramatic about it. And so that is another way that I de-stress, and it puts a smile on your face. And just creating these habitats, seeing what wildlife comes to our yard, not the rats, which is a totally separate episode. That is not the wildlife I want to see in my backyard. But, the birds, the bees, the butterflies, I get now pretty geeked out about insects. And so even if it's just to kick back, you've created a little space of flowers in your backyard. You planted a tree. An oak tree is an excellent choice. It is actually a host plant for over 500 species of moths and butterflies, if you can believe that. That means they lay their eggs on the leaves, and then those caterpillars, the resulting caterpillars, need to eat those oak leaves. It does not decimate your tree, so don't worry about that. They don't even eat all that much. Anyway, but even if that's all you did, you planted a few native flowers, you planted an oak tree, and you got yourself a little sitting spot. You've done good things, and now you can enjoy the fruits of your labor. So, your backyard, you can raise chickens. You can know where your food comes from on that front, whether you want meat hens or egg-laying hens. Those are actually two different kinds of hens, believe it or not. And so there's a lot of enjoyment of having chickens. I've had chickens now. I think we've had them for about 12 years or so, and they are a source of entertainment, not nearly as much work as I thought they were going to be, as a matter of fact. But, these are things that outside of the shenanigans that go on around the world, you can find refuge in your own backyard. And that is one of the reasons why I made this podcast, is because I find so much enjoyment in my backyard. And look, I work a full-time job, so it's not like I'm just sitting around farming in my backyard. I mean, I do that a lot, but I also work 40 hours a week, and, we have a life to live. But we have put an extensive amount of work into our yard to create what we wanted. And to be honest with you, we have created something I didn't even know I wanted. It's just so nice. We have a lot of people, a lot of kids in our cul-de-sac, and I'm friends with all of them. But, sometimes maybe it gets a little noisy, or we actually live kind of close to a freeway, and you can kind of hear the freeway noise or just any busy road that's by you, okay? And that's usually the noise that most people hear. And if you follow me on Instagram, I made a video, and it was our backyard at night versus I went quite a few houses down and I recorded that, where they don't have nearly the native plants that we have. They don't really have any habitats going on. They just have kind of like the standard suburban evergreen trees and shrubs that aren't even native to Ohio. And if you were to hear the songs coming out of our yard versus nothing coming out of someone else's yard, and those sounds are relaxing. I mean, those actually are pretty hard, cold facts that you can look up if you were bored, that the sounds of nature decreases your stress, boosts your serotonin levels, and you are in general a happier, healthier person. So, you can do all this. You can decrease your stress just from your own backyard, and your job, kids, all the things that hit us every day might be stressing you out. And I am sure that no matter which side of the aisle you're on, this political season is going to stress you out. So I would encourage you to, even now, even in September, that's what time it is right now, mid-September, go out and buy a couple of native plants, find a spot where you can put them, and maybe, if you have time, dig a little pond. We have 3 ponds in our yard. 2 of them were a bit more work, but one of them actually was a 3-hour project. It's 2.5 feet deep, 2.5 feet wide, bought the pump on Amazon, and that little thing drowns out all the noise of everywhere, all the noise from cul-de-sac, all the noise from the surrounding streets, and you can just sit there and listen or read a book or watch the birds or watch the kids that you can no longer hear. But having a refuge in your backyard, and a refuge filled with, no matter how many or how few, native plants that attract a butterfly or two and a few little bumblebees that won't bother you if you don't bother them. I actually know people who pet bumblebees. I have not done that yet, but I've watched a couple of people do it. Bumblebees don't care about you. They just have a work to do. And they're not going to sting you unless you go screwing around with them. So anyway, that's my little plug for bumblebees. They are the real hard workers of my yard. I will tell you that right now. So try not to get too wrapped up in all of the political stuff this fall. Just find a place of respite, and I hope that is your backyard, or you're making plans for it to be your backyard. And because, look, if the person you vote for doesn't win, you're going to be kind of in a foul mood. So why not start thinking about happy things and the native flowers that you can plant in your yard for next year, and just create one little tiny space of happiness in your life. And as always, that's it. I thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, comments, or ideas, drop me a line on all the social platforms, or you can email me, Kathy@backyardcolumbus.com. Have a great day.